Hello, fishes, and welcome back to our Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Mural. I am taking over this week because Rose has talked enough about Fire Emblem for the last couple, so she asked me to do this week to give her a break, which I am okay with doing. This week it is Chrom from Fire Emblem, for multiple games, I think. I've never played them, so I'm not sure. But with this, I did a lot. One more thing before we get into it. We do have a sneak peek for our next week's mural character at the end, so please wait till the end, or watch till the end to see who it is, and comment down below if you know who it is. It's a lot of fun. Gives us something to helps us stay on top of our weekly art pieces. But as for Chrom, um, I had not done or played any Fire Emblem games. I am not a huge RPG kind of person, the exceptions being Pokemon and the Mario and Luigi games, which are also on my channel right now. Those are the extent of my RPGing experience. um, so I have very little knowledge of Fire Emblem except for what I know of them in Smash Bros. So there's that. Upon doing research, I found that this game series started back in 1990 and there are 17 games. And that blew my mind because I didn't realize there were that many games. I knew like Three Houses, I think is the most recent one, came out for the Switch, and I was like, oh, that's cool. I don't really care, but that's cool that, a new one's coming out. And I didn't realize there were 17. Like that just um but with it being as popular as it originally was never released in the US. Part of the reason it ever was is because of Roy and Marth, I believe are the two, were added to Super Smash Bros. Melee and introduced the Western world to these characters. So then it's part of the reason Smash Bros. Melee is part of the reason why we got a Western release for Fire Emblem games, which is really cool. You know, like if you enjoy these games and these characters, that's a really cool thing. And to have it them be released in the U.S., I'm sure they would have eventually. But the fact that they were released because those characters were added to Smash Bros. Melee is really cool. But with it being, it's a grid-based RPG, which you have like a grid map that you move your characters around. So it's a bit more dynamic than the RPGs that I've mentioned that I've played, which is kind of cool. But it also has a social simulation, I think is what they called it, in my research, where you can befriend and um, like raise the stats of different fighter NPCs that you find and bring to your battle. And then like the more you talk to them, the more they like the better powers they have, the better stats. It's like kind of like leveling up your army by talking to them and getting to know them. And then in later games you can actually date and marry and have a kid with an NPC that you enjoy, which is odd. You don't really see that in an RPG fighting game, but they can do whatever they want. It's really cool though. It's adding layers to it, and I never really realized that Fire Emblem was also a dating sim. But that's fun. Um, there's also a system called the permanent death. So if you take a character in to fight and they die, that character is dead for the rest of the game. And then in later iterations and versions of the game, they added a casual mode, which you could turn on, and then the characters would just die until the end of the battle, and then they'd be revived again, which is how most games work for me. Like that's how I mean, they don't revive. You have to go and revive them at the end of like Pokemon. You have to go and get revives and take them to the Poke Center and stuff like that. But the idea of having a permanent death of characters just basically makes it like a Nuzlocke. So there's a way. I mean, I don't know how it works in Fire Emblem, but if you lose everyone, like if you if everyone dies and you run out of fighters, do you lose the game? Like, that's interesting to me. Like, I don't know if that's how it works. I've never played any of the games. And then in another game, they added something called a Phoenix Feather or something Phoenix that revives the fighters after the player's next turn. So they're dead for a temporary, but then they get revived and they're back in, which is kind of cool. Something that's not related to Fire Emblem, well, it is. I never realized, I've played Smash Bros. Ultimate a lot with family and friends and whatever. I do not think I could have told you how asymmetrical Chrom's outfit is until I was coloring this. Like, he's the weird pants, he's got the weird like cuffs on everything, collars on everything, his like one arm shirt, and it's just so bizarre to me. And it's not bad, like it looks fine, it's just so asymmetrical that it bothers me. Like, it was just so jarring to see how asymmetrical it was. And I'm sure there is I'm sure there's a valid reason in game why his outfit is like that. I'm sure there's, strategic way of having it, or it could just be a design thing. I don't know. But man, did it just throw me for a loop as I was coloring this for Rose. But now back to the actual games. There is a rock paper scissors mechanic for the weapons, which was it was lances beat swords, swords beat axes, and axes beat lances, which I think is kind of funny. But then as I was doing my research, I found out that they actually got an upgrade later in later games, which is it's not just swords anymore, it's swords and books or tomes. And then it's axes and bows, and lances and shurikens, which I just think is the funniest thing, because I never look at those two weapons and think, yes, those two would go together. Yes, lances and shurikens, perfect. Like flawless logic. It was so funny to me when I read that. There's also one for magic. There's a little like triangle for magic that it's fire beats wind, wind beats thunder, and then thunder beats fire. Which my Pokemon sense is screaming at me, because that doesn't seem like how it works in Pokemon. I don't think fire beats wind or air in Pokemon. I could be wrong. It's been so long since I played a Pokemon game, and I've never been able to get the type matchups like 100%. So please correct me if I'm wrong. If and there's just so much with Chrom in this one. I can honestly say I think this is probably one of my top 10 favorite the art pieces that we've done, just with pose, the art style, the character who bought Chrom really fits well. The colors really work with it. The Chrom's blue and grays. The shoes and feet are kind of big, but proportions are hard. Still looks great, and the person who got it really loved how it turned out. So, but yeah, so it's fun. I've enjoyed this project so much. Being able to I know these videos don't get all the views, like our gaming ones get far more views. But we're doing this for us because it gives Rose a project to work on weekly, to do it for her. It's really for her and me, this whole channel. We're not doing it for views, we're doing it because it's just fun. It's a hobby, and we're enjoying it. And Rose has such a hard time working on large projects like this. So this really gives her the motivation to work hard, and she's done fantastic on it. So I really hope this gets a lot of views, and once this project's over, we have a couple more. We have another projects in the works that we're trying to figure out which one we want to do. But until then, I will see you all in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay amazing, my friends. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys!